we sometimes hear the phrase American exceptionalism. I think one thing that you've been hearing today is that in a way, we're talking about two types of exceptionalism. For example, if I were to talk about great Americans, I would talk about the wealth creators, Benjamin Franklin, Edison, Steve Jobs. I think that those three guys, collectively, have done more than all the redistributors combined. I'm not saying there isn't room for both. I'm just trying to put priority where it belongs. Now, when it comes to tough issues, how do we get the country? Slavery. It's time to talk a little bit of sense. And I think we're in a generation now and at a moment now when we can do that without mere sloganeering. 90% of American Indians were murdered, genocide. Actually, that's not true. The white man came to America and brought with him, unwittingly, a whole bunch of diseases, malaria, smallpox, and on it goes. The vast, vast majority of Indians contracted the plagues and died. And it wiped out the majority of them, and this was a tragedy. But it was no more of a genocide than when the Black Plague and the bubonic plague swept across Europe, wiping out 1/3 of the population of Europe, and that came from Asia. And I don't see the Europeans submitting reparations or genocide proposals in the UN. Why? Because they have the sense to recognize that this is part of the tragedy of history. Human beings have carried with them diseases to which people had no immunities at the time. This is not to excuse broken treaties or any of the rest of it, but it is a way of demanding a certain intellectual precision when we talk about these things. Now, slavery. Isn't it a fact that the founders allowed slavery? It is. And why did they do it? Because had they not allowed it, there would be no way they could have had a union. 12 of the 13 original states had slaves. Certainly the southern states, but most of the northern states would not have joined the union had there been an attempt to forbade it at the outset. So what Lincoln said is the founders declared the right to freedom, so that the enforcement could follow when the circumstances permitted. And in fact, 300,000 white boys from the North died to end slavery, securing for the African American a freedom that he was not strong enough or in a position to secure for himself. So I'm really glad somebody ran the Underground Railroad, but I don't know why nobody mentions those 300,000 white soldiers who had nothing to gain and who gave their lives to end slavery. And finally, when Martin Luther King said in the 60s, I am submitting a promissory note and I'm demanding that it be cashed, I was kind of waiting for the Southern segregationists to say, what note? We didn't make any promises to you. But in fact, Martin Luther King was not appealing to a promise made by the Southern segregationists. He was appealing to the Declaration of Independence.